what went down yesterday. Boston defeated Board Control on stream 3-1. ToastMonster defeated Orange off stream 3-1. So Boston, of course, going up against ToastMonster first of all. Eric Hodge defeated AA3650, and he will be playing against Pardub, who...
You love that deck, don't you?
I love that deck.
And he's brought Odd Paladin, which, again, is something we know and love.
And then, of course, the Warlock banned for Boston, the Hunter banned for ToastMonster. So very different approaches to this competitive tournament. But Last Hero Standing is a tournament format where you can have lots of different avenues to success. And now we have to ask, who do you think will get the win here? Who is going to make it through to the semifinals and continue in the running for that Dreamhack Winter title? Make sure you are following the channel in chat. Hashtag Boston or hashtag Toast. Not that Toast, different Toast. Equally good.
Won't matter to Twitch.
This Toast, specifically.
What do you think, Falk? Who do you think is going to get this one?
Okay, it's going to be a split decision this time. I know it is. I feel bad because, again, I know how good a player Boston is, and I wouldn't be upset at all if Boston were to win the whole tournament. But for me, it's got to be ToastMonster.
Did not see that one coming. Lorinda, how about you?
I would love to see ToastMonster win it, but I think he's got another year of, you know, he can win one next year. I think Boston's done enough to earn his rights to win one this year. Voting with a heart. Toast, I'm sorry, mate. Acolyte seems to be one of the cards that people are starting to look at cutting from Shadowwalk, which is really weird, because I'm with you. The card draw is so important. But it's developed into this weird semi-control style combo deck, which a lot of combo decks are. Like Malagos is the same. Togwaggle's the same.
I was watching Muzzy and Tempo Storm, Muzzy and Cyan's Tempo Storm card review last night, and I actually agree with what they had to say about Boxlosher. I don't really think it finds a place in Shadowwalk Shaman. I think Zola just does the same thing, but better, given that it leaves the minion on the board. And honestly, I think Shadowwalk Shaman in this form will exist, possibly without any changes come the next expansion.
It may well do. It's all about testing that card, see if it makes enough difference.
It's gotten to that point now where, and we're seeing the evidence in how many successful lineups this deck has appeared in, it is somewhat consistent. It's consistent enough.
And a lot of the decks have reached that level of tuning because the Dr. Boom set basically will be much more influential come April than it has been currently.
Yeah.
We have had a lot of the same decks sort of hanging around, so they've become incredibly refined.
Oh yes, in April when Grumble and Saronite disappeared, this deck won't exist anymore in its current form. And it's struggling to exist in this game also, as Boston is going to have to consider playing the Lightning Storm because of the buffs on all of the 1/1s here. It's going to go with Saronite instead. Okay, sure. It's the way of stalling without overloading yourself. I like this.
And something we've seen about Boston's play throughout this tournament, even in the games where he self-admits, you know, he messed one up yesterday in the Paladin Druid game.
Yep.
He is incredibly good at not using that removal until he absolutely has to. And Lightning Storm going to turn 5 is much better than Lightning Storm going to turn 4 because it's the most things you can remove before level up gets played.
Right.
Or, basically. So he can take this time to take a little bit of damage and just advance the chain gang part of the combo.
We've been talking about how Shadowwalk has consistently been making a big showing in this tournament so far, but one thing that Boston's Shadowwalk is doing a little bit differently to a lot of them is that he's not running Hemet, which has been surprisingly popular in this tournament.
Just shows how good these guys are at predicting a meta. Did you think there'd be a lot of Shadowwalk at this tournament?
No.
Nor me. I thought there'd be some, there's always some. The people who brought Hemet obviously thought it'd be Shadowwalk.
Yeah.
It's so good in the mirror, because Hemet has just gone missing entirely from Shadowwalk.
Yeah.
Recently, because it's only good in the mirror and one or two of the control matchups.
It was around for maybe a month. Consistently in decks. Oh, well, like quite a few months ago as well, not recently.
But the level these guys have got to is not only do they think that Shadowwalk's right, but they also put their own tech in because they realise that other people are going to work out that Shadowwalk was right for this tournament. But is it right for this game?
Well, no. Hemet would not be right for this game.
Is Shadowwalk right for this game?
Shadowwalk, not really. But, you know, in the position that he finds himself in, Boston's deck runs a copy of Sandbinder instead, so that's more card draw, which is kind of what Boston wants at the moment. He's got 2 healing rains. He's got a lot of survivability. He just needs more board clears.
Yeah, and he needs it quicker. The trouble with the board clears is the overload. It often gets overlooked because if he volcanoes in 2 turns' time, he then has to do very little the turn after. Ideally, you go volcano into chain gang, but that option has gone.
Protects me.
And look at this reload with level up ready to go. And Boston needs card draw. He can play the Mana Tide and maybe Earthshock, the Righteous Protector, I'd imagine. But that's not really getting anywhere. Maybe he'll feel now Oh, he's only got 3 mana. He's still overloaded for 2, of course.
Ah, it's so difficult. Having drawn the Acolyte of Pain now as well, if not for the Void Ripper, Acolyte would be great. You can't even Acolyte Earthshock the Void Ripper away.
And interesting that he chose to go this route.
But it allows him to trade off the Void Ripper, I guess. He's thinking maybe next turn he can get that Acolyte and start getting some draws with it. But this level up, if not this turn, next turn. Oh, it's only 2 minions this turn. Fungal Mancer makes much more sense. But next turn, level up is looking incredible.
Yeah, I feel like last turn was an opportunity to just maybe drop a Manatide or an Acolyte and just close your eyes and hope it all goes away for 1 turn.
Right.
And then use the Healing Rain plus the other one of those 2 cards the turn after to survive a bit longer.
Ooh, Mind Control Tech's not a bad draw, is it?
It's pretty good right now.
As far as this turn goes, Healing Rain and Mind Control Tech is about as good as it gets. If that gets a 3-3.
That's fine. He's not dead. He'd rather have had the 3-3 recruit, but he won't swap it back.
Yeah.
But now, Vine Cleaver into level up. Even though it's an obvious combo, because the level up is cheaper than the Vine Cleaver, it's something that people sometimes forget. Not these players, but I mean people at home, you know, maybe if you're on ladder, you're playing your level ups too early.
You could argue that this is riskier than just hero power level up this turn. Because now if Bozzzto does find a Volcano, then he does clear the board and it does slow ToastMonster down that little bit.
You instantly make 4 3-3s the next turn, though. That's why it's so weird that you reverse the curve. If level up costs 8, I think people would play the card better.
Right.
It wouldn't be as good a card for the people who play it, you know, when it is good on turn 5, which could have been this game if there's no Lightning Storm. But just imagine it costs 8 and sometimes go, oh, I can cast it early, rather than think it costs 5.
But Bozzzto needs to find that second Lightning Storm or a Volcano now, given that ToastMonster is about to have pretty much a full board of 3-3s.
Yeah, he doesn't know that, or they could probably divine it, that level up set there all game. And this is the turn where he's choosing to close his eyes and not use the Healing Rain, because if he gets through this turn intact, and he should...
Yeah.
Should he? Is this 15?
It's 15, that's right.
Yeah, so he's safe for 1 turn, and then next turn he will start getting that mega card draw, heal up, the board challenges. There's always 1 turn against this deck where you have to close your eyes and do things, and this is the turn he's chosen.
Which path?
He is dead to sort of a veteran and level up and many other little combos.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah. Any damage in addition to a level up would just end Bozzzto
Which
now.
makes you wonder if he could have gone back to that 3 mana turn where he chose to not play the Acolyte earlier, where he healed up instead and take a chance. Given that he's had to take a chance somewhere, maybe get the chance over with earlier.
Okay. Let's close our eyes and hope for a Lightning Storm, I guess.
He needs to hope for a lot of good things to happen to him. He's got 2 draws to get things that he needs. He'll get a card from the Acolyte, of course. Not enough.
That's a whiff. 1 more chance.
Which one do I hit with the Acolyte? That one. Hit the golden one.
Oh, that's a mistake. Oh, that's not the one either.
Zola, the game's gone.
So is Hex Healing Rain even enough for Bozzzto to survive?
I'm going with no, but I haven't
not.
counted it. Can he Hex his home minion, save more health? No, that's the same number.
No, I've just counted very quickly. It's not even close.
Can he... No, if he had 9 mana or 10 mana, he might be able to Hex his own minion, then Zola the taunted Hex minion, then replay that. But that's not in there either. And he goes 1-0 down. No massive surprise there, although he did have a decent starting hand. It never developed into more, and that's the problem that you do have against the Paladin.
Yep, so that is Shadowwalk Shaman eliminated from this series, leaving Bozzzto with only Malygos Druid and Death Rattle Hunter.
Dan unceremoniously just scribbling massive lines through the Paladin part of his chart.
That's how I make notes now. Yep, just scribbling massive lines.
That's what I do before the game. Then I can't read the notes and I say silly things like people aren't on teams who aren't. Yeah.
So, what is Bozstone's pick for taking down this odd Paladin? I don't think it's going to be Death Rattle Hunter somehow.
Correct.
So, Malygos Druid versus odd Paladin it is then. And this matchup can go either way. Spreading Plague is a strong card, but Void Ripper is also a strong card. And the Hero Power is a strong card too.
Yeah, Fungal Mancer is particularly strong in this matchup. It makes the minions just big enough to not die to the anything,
right.
the plague, etc., and gives you a chance to get through. But obviously, you want to be the druid, I think. Although I think people argue every matchup pretty much. But this is a matchup that does get quite a lot of arguing about.
As Bozzzto trying to work out if he wants to keep that spreading plague or not. Nope, he wants wild growths. Not even keeping Spellstone. Armor gain's good.
That's the trouble, though. This is why mulliganing with Druid is hard. Every card looks good. Like, Spreading Plague looks like an insta-keep. But there's just so many better cards. So these are good cards, but you have good cards. And you have to work out, using practice and using stats, whether you can afford to mulligan for the crazy stuff, like Wild Growth. Could be a quick morning for Boston if he loses this one. Like you say, that Hunter matchup is ugly for the Paladin. And ToastMonster's lineup is far more Last Hero traditional in that it's a very counter-pick based lineup.
Yeah.
We've seen decks like lineups like Boston's are along the lines of picking the best 4 decks, give or take. Obviously, with some of your own tech and strategy involved.
That doesn't seem to be what ToastMonster's done.
ToastMonster's gone for a very old-fashioned Last Hero standing. I win game 1, you counter me, I counter you, you counter me, I counter you, I win. And testament to ToastMonster's skill, you don't just bring Priest, the Cloning Gallery Priest, and Togwaggle to a tournament to go top 8 if you haven't done a heck of a lot of Hearthstone. They're not just decks you just pick up and play.
Bozzzto, though, now having been able to innovate out that twig. Innovate itself is actually quite a strange pick for Malagos Druid, not something that's been seen that consistently.
Yeah, this tournament we've seen a lot of the people playing one of. It's really handy when you want to do that old Ultimate Infestation into Innovate, kill your thing.
Yep.
Because you quite often pick up a Spellstone. Obviously, when you draw 5 cards, you pick up a lot of things. Yep. And so you suddenly get that Innovated to 4 damage, which can just swing it. It just makes the broken card even more ridiculous when you're doing 5 damage to one thing, 4 damage to another thing, making a 5/5 and getting yourself out of it. Just swings the game so much. But yeah, you're right. It wasn't in the deck. It was in the deck, then it wasn't, then there were 2, then it got nerfed, and then there were none. And it goes in and out according to taste quite a lot.
Well, there goes that board.
Yeah, and the twig is so huge, not just for the obvious reason, but the fact you don't have to spend any mana hero powering things down for the next 5 turns is also gigantic. Against Paladin in particular.
So ToastMonster does have the tools that he needs to restock this board. Corridor Creeper costs 1. He may decide to play that this turn. He might just wait until it costs 0 so that he can play it completely for free and get the best possible value across all of his turns.
He may be considering the Stonehill because he hasn't got a way through Plague in his hand. Because he hasn't got the Fungal Mancer or the level up. He might want to look for a more narrow, chunky board, as opposed to a wide one, which is normally fairly wide, not too wide, and just smash through the Plague unless you get your Void Ripper.
It's difficult because if he does that, if he doesn't go wide, then he's sort of playing around Plague, giving Boston the read that ToastMonster has no way of buffing his hand, is what I mean by that. So I actually think I prefer this from ToastMonster, even though he doesn't have these buffs. Go completely wide. It's 1 turn early for the Spreading Plague anyway. A swipe has just been used.
Yep.
He does have the Blessed Maul as well.
And he has 2 draws on top of that.
Yeah.
So lots of things in his favour for this. You know, it's not coming down this turn, like you said, even if it's in Boston's hand, it might not be there, which is actually the case. And you've got 2 goes at many cards. Void Ripper is fine. Fungal Mancer is fine. Level Up is obviously lovely. Interesting to see how he uses this Moonfire.
Yeah, he's desperately having to draw through his deck. We've seen Boston many times now just using his Malagos combo pieces, not as part of the combo, just to survive, just to extend the game. It's worked out for him very well. And this is exactly the type of matchup that's important in. Just using these combo pieces to survive, because in theory you do win eventually anyway.
This is a case of balancing. Does the draw card get you Spreading Plague often enough to save you more damage than the armor would save?
Yeah.
But the armor doesn't save you much. I know it's 12, but if these things come in next turn with a level up for That 12 and more is just gone straight away.
Time waits for no one.
Moonfire and Spellstone.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I mean. ToastMonster managed to go wide. Boston thinks that there's a level up in hand.
But this is why Paladin is better than people think. If you present the question saying, I haven't got level up, but you don't know that, so it doesn't matter that I haven't got it. You're going to waste your resources killing my stuff anyway.
Yeah.
This is how you play against Warrior, the same. You just pretend that you've got level up the entire time. And sometimes when you've got it, you don't even cast it. Because if you think they can deal with the board after you cast it, like they brawl, actually they're never scared of it again, and they just let your 1/1s live.
That wasn't a level up, but it wasn't that much worse.
That's a huge amount of information for Bozzzto now, but like you say, it's not that bad. Okay, so he has a game plan now of how do I get to turn 10? Not the most complicated game plan ever.
Well, he needs to survive one more turn, because
Sure.
his twig is just going to break after that. So I wouldn't be completely surprised if he just gained as much armor as he possibly can this turn, hits the twig into the minion, and then next turn breaks the twig, plays Ultimate Infestation.
Well, he's definitely going to gain 6. He's got to work out, is there one card I can draw that maybe is worth drawing first? But there isn't. The Days of Wrath into Cycle, that sort of thing might have been better. But there wasn't a good pickup in his eyes, so buying time the old-fashioned way.
Next turn, depending on what if he draws a Spreading Plague next turn, then it becomes very easy. But next turn, he can start with...
Might be it. No, it's not it. Carry on.
Not quite. He can start with Ferocious Howl, see what he draws, play whatever else he can, break the twig, and then Ultimate Infestation.
It's a lot of damage, though.
Yeah, the question is, will that be enough? Will Boston's 17-mana turn be enough to survive this onslaught?
I think with Vine Clear in hand, unless it is literally Spreading Plague, this is just going to get done one way or the other in turn or two.
He really does need that Spreading Plague.
And yeah, I mean, he needs Spreading Plague and then follow-up, and Lich King is a follow-up. It's not like the most ridiculous follow-up ever. Okay, Boston is a world of trouble. This is a lot of pressure, not just because he loses this, but he's got the Hunter left. ToastMonster's teammate, Big Ben, already a Dreamhack finalist in the past.
Yep. Came second, Dreamhack Valencia, I think?
Correct, good man.
There we go.
That's my job gone.
I can't do it that consistently.
And Eminem have done a lot for the UK scene across multiple esports. You know, supporting players.
So Boston now has to think about playing that Nourish.
Well,
because
yeah.
if he draws with Nourish and gets Spreading Plague, he's greatly rewarded. But if he doesn't draw Spreading Plague, then...
How does he play it?
I think he just nourishes, then breaks the twig and hopes to...
Yeah, I guess. The other option is the Ferocious Howl gets you half as many cards, but gives you a lot more options, but yeah.
That's the issue. Maybe if he doesn't get Spreading Plague from this, he actually starts his 10-mana turn with Ferocious Howl.
Okay.
Instead
he
of
gets the Spreading Plague.
He got there.
He gets the Moonfire to back it up, and he's got the Naturalize. So not only can he Plague here, but he can actually really swing the board at the same time.
Oh, look at him go!
He's got to go so quickly. He spent so long on that decision. He's got so many things he can do.
Look at that APM!
But look at this board swing. By killing everything off, I think he got the Naturalize off as well, but I might be wrong, because he doesn't like playing Naturalize. We saw that yesterday, if possible. The swing on the board is so huge because of the Tyrant and the Moonfire.
Yeah, I mean, how does ToastMonster deal with this board? I think he's got a Void Ripper somewhere in that deck, but that's it, right? That's the only tool that allows him to comfortably deal with the board. Level up is helpful, though. It doesn't deal with it immediately, but this gives ToastMonster some real sustainability here.
I think ToastMonster is in a world of trouble, though, because Alex Straza can be self-heal. Obviously, UI is UI. We know what that does. And just by being able to kill a couple of things off, and I'm surprised he didn't naturalize just to get rid of one more.
Yeah.
But we saw yesterday, even though it's against even Paladin, he hates giving decks that have little card draw cards.
Right.
It is bigger than... I think we've all got in the habit of just naturalizing because so many people have 10 cards all the time. It doesn't matter. But against aggro, the reason people didn't play naturalize for the longest time is it does matter. You don't want to restock them if you do stabilize. And stabilize, he very nearly has.
Again, Tyrant in the hand does help. Floop can be played just for another minion with the Tyrant if Boston wants to just wrestle for this board.
You were talking about the Innovate earlier being used for the Twig, and it's a good job it was because it saved him.
Right.
But you can see how amazing Innovate would be here.
Yeah.
So that Innovate into Spellstone, that's what we're talking about. Just a nice visual reminder that
that card is in the deck for a reason, with good reason. So Stonekeeper Tarim from the Stonehill defender could be good, but just not this turn. That's the issue. Maybe he could just go Vine Cleaver this turn, try and create as large a board as possible, and the next turn go Sun Fury, Stonehill, and then try and get Tarim.
Yeah, Tarim doesn't look that fantastic right now. It's definitely okay. It's always okay. But yeah, maybe one more turn.
Yeah, it's just the fact it's not playable this turn.
Oh, he points that face. I'm not sure about that. That may have been quick. I know he's got to do damage, but 4/4s kill your minions so much. Look at the trades, how they line up for Boston here. These are clean.
Boston
They're super clean.
Has also just drawn most of his deck.
I think he can just Alexstrasza himself here, make all the really straightforward trades. None of his stuff dies. If he Alexstrasza he can't hero power, he might want to. They might just Spellstone a 1/1.
Yeah, right. And then ToastMonster ends this turn, or starts his turn with only one 1/1 on the board.
Well, yeah, he Spellstones the thing and trades into 1/1. You know what I mean?
So he can. Yeah. So he can start next turn by making 4 more 1/1s, but that's not winning him the game.
Yeah, and again, Boston keeping Naturalizers back against aggro. It sounds obvious when you say it, but as someone, you watching, you have at some point naturalized a big minion against aggro, and Boston does his absolute best never to do that. And this is why.
Just trying to run ToastMonster out of resources.
ToastMonster has 1 Divine Favor. Just having a quick look.
That draw would be huge.
That would get him in with some sort of chance. I think he needs that right now. I don't think anything else does it. That's not Divine Favor. That's a wand drop.
Not even getting the Tarim, which would have at least allowed him to trade off the Lich King with the weapon. That's rough.
Yeah, Righteous Protector might buy him 1 more go at the Divine Favor. You're sort of currently the control deck looking for your massive card draw card. You're not a control deck, that is the problem. You're not built like one in any way.
The only real silver lining for ToastMonster here is that Boston's used both of his Moonfires and a swipe. So there's no crazy Malagos turn incoming. This is just lethal, though.
Goes to 1 each, but more importantly, not just the scoreline, but Boston's Hunter is protected. That Paladin was going to tear through the Hunter a huge percentage of the time. And ToastMonster's feels like the Pheno final when he played against Saiyan when he thought he had won. ToastMonster must have thought he was close there.
Interesting series already. ToastMonster still left with Xerx's Priest, Cloning Gallery Priest, whatever you want to call it, and also Tog Druid. Tog Druid versus Malagos Druid is an interesting matchup.
It really is. I think if you ask any of the players of Tog Druid, they say they're favoured.
I agree.
But good luck. We've seen how hard it is to make it show under pressure, etc.
I mean, ultimately, a large part of that matchup, like any Druid matchup, does come down to the Wild Growths.
Here we go.
That's what he's going to go for. The Wild Growth, the Nourishes, the Ultimate Infestations. But the thing is, you can, as Druid, you can out-armor Malagos, but you can't out-armor Togwaggle.
Yeah. And Azaleen is a big deal as well. You've seen this more than me. Obviously, you cast the entirety of HGG this year. ToastMonster at the start of the year, maybe the early weeks of HGG, I thought was quite a nervous individual on camera.
Yep.
Not in real life. He'd come up to anyone and have a chat and ask how to get better at Hearthstone. That's why he's got good so quick. But the guy now seems to be like a from about week 4 onwards in HGG, maybe. Totally different character.
I mean, I think the Hearthstone Global Games has been a great experience for a lot of players, a lot of lesser-known players across the board, being able to play with other players who have maybe a little bit more experience than they do. ToastMonster with ball control, for example, getting used to their company, getting used to talking through plays with them. And I think that in itself is something that will make a player like ToastMonster feel more comfortable when competing on the big stage. Just having that experience. being forced to play with players who are better than you.
And that exact dynamic, ToastMonster's an incredibly fast learner and Ball Control's an incredibly good teacher. That dynamic really worked well for Toast, I agree. And some other teams as well, like you're saying, some of the players, the experience they got, especially in some of the smaller countries where they maybe only have one or two powerful players. Definitely strengthened Hearthstone all around. So one thing that's massively important here, which is why Boston's hovering over this MC tech and looks like he's going to play it, is the health totals. That sounds obvious in a game about health totals, but it's not immediately obvious that that's what's happening here. But both parties, especially the Tog Druid, get loads of armor. It's not uncommon to get to sort of 60 health.
Yep.
And it will probably go to fatigue. So if you can chip away that health, then maybe have a huge Malygos turn, not necessarily a lethal one, and then just chip into fatigue. That's how you get it done. So that's why he's occupying the board like a crazy man with a 3-3.
What's fascinating to me, though, is that ToastMonster decided that drawing a card is more important than clearing that 3-3 off of the board. I would have expected him to want to clear that to keep his health total as high as possible. It's important in surviving against Malygos. But no, his game plan is draw through my deck as quickly as I can, get that Togwaggle win condition going.
Yeah, Azalina can be a big deal too because you just get good cards. So get rid of your armor gain and your gubbins, and just Azalina for a full hand of actual real cards. Then you're just playing the same game as your opponent, except you're built to beat them at that point.
ToastMonster.
The timing of Azalina is something that mystifies me, unfortunately.
Oh, it's so difficult. It's so hard to play that card correctly. ToastMonster got a fairly easy Nourish Spellstone turn here. The only downside is he doesn't have another Nourish or an Ultimate Infestation in his hand. So he's sort of relying on that branching path to draw him cards if he needs to, if he doesn't get a Nourish or a UI in the next couple turns.
Yeah, card draw in this matchup is really weird. Because you don't want to be too far behind in fatigue, but you want to have enough stuff to do stuff. And so you're constantly treading that line, a bit like some of the old Warlock versus Warrior games when it was a bit more even.
Right.
Do I tap? Don't I tap? You know, some people wouldn't tap for whole games.
Yeah.
Some people would tap once or twice.
Getting the second Nourish for Toast is huge, though. And there's the Ultimate Infestation as well. Now he probably wishes he hadn't just played that Nourish. It's impossible to know, though, what the next card is going to be.
Two reasons for Bozzzto to keep his hand size low. First of all, so you can't just be soloed by Togwaggle.
Yep.
But also, secondly, like so Togwaggle with naturalizers.
Yep.
But secondly, the Azalina, you don't want to give your opponent any cards when they choose to Azalina you.
True.
Obviously, you have to. It's not like a case of keeping it ridiculously low, because you want to be able to do stuff. But that's why it's a matchup that people fight about forever, because there's so many micro decisions.
It's definitely the type of matchup, though, where you can win by soloing with Togwaggle. You can just go on turn 10, naturalize Tog, rather, force the deck swap, take that Malygos away from the opponent, take the Lich King away from the opponent potentially, give them a lot of, as you would say, gubbins.
Definitely gubbins.
And they can't win. But no, Boston keeping his hand size down.
And this weird fight for board is actually really important. It comes down regularly to, with the Tog having the edge, but regularly to, if you've got a minion on the board and they haven't, during the fatigue, it's like doubling their fatigue almost. So these little micro fights, it's not like watching aggro versus aggro, but it's the same deal. If one of you ends up with a 4-4 on the board for a couple of turns, it's huge.
Yeah. Hence the Spreading Plague for 2 cards. ToastMonster also trying to empty his hand now, notably changing his Wrath strategy from dealing 1 damage and drawing a card to now dealing 3 damage and not drawing a card. He wants to get that hand size down. He wants to cast Ultimate Infestation.
Yeah.
There's Malygos. Twig almost ready to break.
But nothing, well, 1 swipe in hand. You ideally want to Malygos and do some Moonfire action. It's so good, emptying your hand, emptying the Moonfires out, you know, getting the damage in, all that good stuff all at once. And I say it like that, that sounds obvious, but you wouldn't do that against most decks.
Yeah.
But here you have limited time. You don't want it to get caught in your hand. You want it to be on that board as quickly as possible.
My thoughts are plagued.
This is a nice early start for these guys. Just a Togwaggle versus Malygos game at 9:30, 10:30 a.m. Get to the venue and have to go instantly into the deepest, most complicated game in the whole of Hearthstone.
I hope they got a good night's sleep, which a lot of the players were complaining about not getting.
Players
today.
and casters, but mainly players, tend to sleep badly at events. There's so much going on, and they've usually travelled a day or two before.
Not so bad for Boston here, though.
Yeah,
this is a
kind of lives around here.
Yeah, local-ish tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure the specifics of how near he lives, but obviously he lives in the right country.
Sweden's a big country, though. Who knows?
Yeah, it is.
I have family that live in Sweden.
Yeah? I live in Italy.
I have other family that live in Italy.
Which half is best?
Put
you on the spot live in front of the world.
Swedish family is more distant.
Okay.
Than the Italian family, but yeah.
See, that answers that. Can't be embarrassing Dan first thing in the morning.
Sorry, Auntie Liz.
Okay, so now it's Boston's turn to work out what he wants to do with these UIs. And also what he wants to do with Naturalize. Here he goes.
Time to go for it, yeah.
Get some stuff to go with your money. That's stuff. That's not. That's stuff.
That's good.
That's kind of stuff.
Lich King's good too. All stuff. All stuff.
Another reason for this Innovate that I didn't mention earlier when I was waffling on in my droney voice about Innovate is this.
Right.
So UI often fills your hand because it's hard to empty your hand as Druid.
Right.
So just burn it and draw a better card next turn. So
It's
you don't
been
burn
a cycle, hasn't it? Like, I'm sure when the latest expansion came out, maybe even when the Witchwood came out, Innovate came back into play briefly and was used for that exact reason.
Yeah.
And then it went out of favour again, and now it's come back in.
I think it went out of favour partly because of the nerf. It was not that great. It's
Okay.
not that great now. And people are like, oh no, it doesn't do enough now, it doesn't cheat the game anymore. But actually, it's just still good. I think it's just a one-off. I'll just double check that. It's usually a one-off. People who play it.
Boston's is. I didn't check ToastMonsters.
A Toast shouldn't be. Let's have a look anyway. Because now I get paranoid. He actually does have one as well.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was a burned card.
Burned cards on both sides. They're nothing particularly relevant. Boston losing a Tyrant.
Oh, ToastMonster's still got an Azleen in the deck. Boston kind of got Malygos in his hand. He's okay to burn a card. He's fine.
Right. But neither player knows that about the other.
Of course, yeah.
Both players with Florist in their hand too. All Boston really needs is Floop, and then he has some silly amounts of damage. He might even decide to just break the twig and go Malygos Moonfire here. He's been known to make plays like that before.
Yeah. And again, just to reiterate, the Lich King is not going to kill ToastMonster, but if you can hit him once or twice, it could definitely win the game.
Yep. Given that ToastMonster just used a Naturalize, this Lich King is looking a little bit safer. And also, ToastMonster doesn't want to be wasting Naturalizes before he's dealing fatigue damage.
Players are so quick when they know they're going to read the number of cards. Just flick, flick, and they know. I'm sure that I do it when I even know what the cards are. It's just a habit to just keep checking.
Yeah, I do as well.
So you don't even read what it says, you know what it says.
I definitely don't check that quickly, though. It's funny because I was talking to ToastMonster about that just before this match started. I said to him, we as casters, we can't see the card count. So look at that!
Thanks, Toast.
I said to him, we as casters, we can't see the card count. So we don't necessarily... It's a little bit trickier to cast Togwaggle Druid because we don't know... We were still lethal yesterday because we just didn't know Xanananan was able to get there. And he was like, oh, don't worry, I'll be checking it a lot. I'll be checking the card count a lot.
If you know it's coming and you look at the right part of the screen, you can, but it's not your normal setup like it is at home, so you... Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right, you guys at home, you can pause it. You can rewind.
Also, they can read.
That too.
Okay, so Boston's ready to launch. a decent amount of damage. I was going to get really hyperbole there and say it was massive, but
Not 51 though.
not 51 damaging points yet. Toast, you there? Is he okay? He's heavy in note-taking.
I mean, Toast could play Naturalized Togwaggle here if he wanted to. I don't think that really benefits him anymore, though, until he's run out of cards. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts this turn with a Wild Growth. Okay.
Yeah, this has been this weird battle for board that I've been talking about. There's so few things to kill.
Yeah.
That when you can kill something, you kill it. Apart from, like you said, with the Naturalizers, which you're actually saving for more strategic reasons.
So I think Boston has somewhere in the realms of 25 damage with Malagos, Swipe, Moonfire, Ultimate Infestation, all playable in the same turn.
Probably start with a Howl. You don't mind drawing that one card for a 9 armor.
Yep. The moment Boston draws Floop, this goes completely out of control. Malagos, Floop, Swipe, Moonfire, Break the Twig, Ultimate Infestation.
The reason he's not comfortable with this, because this looks blatantly straightforward, is the longer this goes on, the more chance ToastMonster has of getting Azalina and just copying the hand and just being in a generally better position. So it has to be very careful not to hold on to it all for too long, but also he'll have a number in mind of how much damage he needs to do to be able to win the game.
Yeah.
And again, just generating this creeping pressure. It's not actual pressure, but every point is so critical.
Even with Floop, Boston's only got 35 damage.
That's plenty. He would just take that now.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You don't need a game-winning amount, but 35 is 35. You said
35.
that's
yeah.
a lot of points of damage. You just take that and take your chance, because then you have a Malagos on the board as well.
True. 2 Malagos, actually. One of them's just a 3/4,
Sure.
but ToastMonster just still gaining armor, though. Look at that.
The armor total. I just find the minion battles hilarious. It's like you're short 1 for your team, so you just grab somebody from off the street. Hey, excuse me, I know you're on your way to work, but do you mind going on the pitch for an hour? We'll play shorts. And the MC Tech's just been played.
So 41 damage, including the minions on the board and also the twig.
And there's only one MC Tech in Toast's deck.
Right.
So he doesn't even have to worry about, do I care if my Malagos gets stolen?
It's got to be go time here.
One of the reasons Bozzdto does so well, amongst others that I keep mentioning, is his commitment to really thinking things through.
It's 51 damage because he's still got a Moonfire in his deck, and Ultimate Infestation draws him that Moonfire.
Ooh, nice.
So the play is Malagos, Floop, Swipe, Moonfire, Break the Twig, Ultimate Infestation, Moonfire.
That sounds like a Hearthstone turn.
Sounds like a good Hearthstone
It
turn.
does. Hearthstone players are good at card games, I've heard.
Yeah. It's just almost lethal. I think it's even more damage than I said, actually.
More than all that damage. And he got it. I was just wondering, because Moonfire was the bottom card drawn, if he actually had time to play it. He does push that rope pretty close. Not as bad as Zalay. I mean, Zalay actually loses turns sometimes because of the animations. But he does push it close. Look at that turnaround in everything in this game.
Yep. I mean, when the Togwaggle Druid draws through his deck slower than the Malagos Druid, generally they're not in a good position.
Yeah, when they don't hit Azalina,
That doesn't help either.
it's not good.
Naturalize once, fatigue
But the thing is,
Boston twice.
This is why people argue about this matchup. If you watched this one game of Hearthstone in your life, and you know you didn't follow the scene, maybe, but you knew what the cards did somehow, you'd be like, well, how on earth does this silly Togwaggle deck ever win a game against this Malagos nonsense?
Boston's nodding. This is completely over. One Malagos survives. There's a Swipe still in the hand. ToastMonster knows it as well. It's going to be 2-1 to Bozzdto, making this comeback with Malagos Druid. Worth pointing out, he did draw that twig on turn 4, both games that he's played with this deck.
Yeah, in fact, I think it was turn 3 against the Paladin.
It was, yeah. It was innovated out, wasn't it?
But that was good in its own right, knowing that that's his way. Obviously, the Twig's a very straightforward card to have against Paladin. You know you need it. It saved him in that game massively, allowing him to nourish for Spreading Plague.
So for ToastMonster, it's all down to Xerx's Cloning Gallery Priest. And this is a deck I actually want to quickly take a look through the deck list.
Exact build.
Because we've seen a few different versions. This one doesn't run Statue. It does run Grizzly. Apparently that is one of the more standard ways.
Yeah, Thalnos has gone from the deck quite a while ago as well now, which surprises me because Thalnos Spirit Lash against aggro is a really good way to get to your Scream.
It's always bugged me about this deck that cards like Thalnos and Gilded Gargoyle have to be in it, just because you play a Spellstone, and when the card you get back are Thalnos, Gilded Gargoyle, Radiant Elemental...
And that's why they dropped the Thalnos, that is the reason.
And Statue, like it's not a win condition, so yeah, exactly.
And with this being last hero standing, it makes it a lot easier to decide, do I need those defensive builds? You're not targeting the aggro decks, you just fold up. Dan's just looked at Boston's hand, I think. I don't know what he's trying to say here.
Yeah, I'm just
drew cards. So, whereas on ladder you might want the Thalnos, you might want slightly more defensive options. On last hero standing, sure, you don't want to lose to aggro, but that's not what the deck is supposed to do. It's supposed to beat the slower decks. And yeah, I mean, if you want to explain why this is so good, Dan, you feel free. But I think we may have mentioned it before.
I'm good.
How about the Tyrant? Do you like that addition to the hand?
Quite a lot, yeah. I do want to say that's a Shadow Reaper Anduin in ToastMonster's hand, and I don't believe that's common at all in Cloning Gallery Priest. Not from what I've seen, anyway.
I've seen it a few times, but I don't know. I wouldn't like to say whether that's common or not. But in tournament again, I can see why you would.
Again, just giving up your healing at a certain point in the game isn't... Against the more aggressive decks, that's not something you can go with. But like you said, this is tournament play for the same reason that the Statue gets rotated out, I guess.
And Hunt is a thing, and Hunter makes a lot of big things around turn 8.
True.
So that's another reason. I don't know if that's the only reason, but that's another thing. We saw a match yesterday. I can't remember who it was, but they basically just played 4/4s only against the Prix as Hunter after turn 8. They didn't go for Katharina nonsense. They just sort of went for buffed MC techs and things.
This is a very strange build, actually. ToastMonster doesn't even run the...
Oh, he's playing... Yeah, so he's playing the more controlling build without the... Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on the name. 6 mana cards. Summon a card from your deck as a 5/5.
Yeah, not Eternal Servitude, the other one.
Yeah, the other one. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank there.
The second somebody says I'm drawing a blank, I always draw a blank alongside.
Yeah, it's so natural.
But yeah. One that rips a 5/5 minion of your choice, not of your choice from your deck. Damn it, I'm blaming you, even though it's entirely not your fault.
I'm literally opening up Hearthstone on one of my devices right now.
And I've heard you cast it for like hundreds of times.
Yeah,
back when Tars played it in America one time, you were casting that deck. In the old Big Priest. Shadow Essence?
Yes, I think that's it.
Obviously I get it the second you're about to see it anyway, because that's how brains work. Anyway, the Shadow Word Death doing a massive job here. Just that one piece of defense to make sure you get to Psychic Scream. Seeing how Boston's approaching this, by the way, it's an absolute race.
Yeah, oh yeah. One of the first things I learned about Malygos Druid from one of the better players, Theo, actually, at the time, said you have to treat it like a Smork deck. You have to play as quickly and as aggressively as you possibly can. Yeah, the Shadow Essence thing is important, though, because usually at around this time, Cloning Gallery Priest goes out of control because it starts to actually summon the big minions, but ToastMonster doesn't even run that card, so he's got to play a slower game by waiting for Cloning Gallery itself.
I think the Shadow Essence goes hand in hand with not playing the statue.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a big deal as a bailout against aggro. It's like, oh, Shadow Essence, get a statue. Oh, I'm saved.
At the same time, it's very good with Ziliax, which is in the deck.
Which is fair. Well, Ziliax is in every deck. Now that 5 slots opened up from Inventor.
It's the new Sludge Belcher, isn't it? And yeah,
everybody knew that Ziliax was busted, but they just couldn't fit it in their decks because everyone's playing...
Double Giggling Inventor. It was pretty good with Giggling Inventor. Turned that Annoyatron into a bigger Annoyatron.
So one of the things that Boston did is I completely ignore you yesterday when he lost that game where he was playing against Paladin as a Druid.
Yep.
Is he didn't do a 2-turn setup for lethal.
Yes.
And I think this is why he's just taken an inordinate long time over this turn. He's like, I'm going to set up 2-turn lethal today.
Hey.
I think that was probably on his mind.
What's that thing about 4-attack minions and Priest?
Priest loves them.
Well,
Yeah. And that's it. Boston is going to take this down with a double swipe and some attacks to face.
Yep. That'll do it. Incredible. He found his opening, he went for it, and ToastMonster just couldn't do anything about that. We got a smile from ToastMonster the moment he played it. He knew what was coming. That's going to be the end of the series.
And the end of ToastMonster for this event, but again, he has continued that progression that he's had throughout the year, from sort of mediocre player at best to guy who learned super fast and became a contender, and now he's here. This is his first time we've really got to see him on a massive stage,